Few months for British unions, facing up to Brexit, facing down the government over the public sector pay cap. So, who better to talk to than Dave Prentis, General Secretary of UNISON, the biggest public services union in the UK. Mr. Prentis, lovely to see you.
Good morning.
I don't know if you witnessed the panel discussion we had a few moments ago, which was intended to be about the future of the Labour Party, but actually gave us a fairly clear idea of where some of the divisions lie, at least within the PLP. In your mind, to what extent is the Labour Party united at the moment?
It's more united than it's been for some time. If you look at this conference, I think people look for undertones, undercurrents, they look for division. It's in all of the newspapers. But I've got to say the agenda for this conference is outward looking. It's about what's happening within our society. It's about caring services. It's about public services, the pay cap, and the need to grow our health service, our education, housing. These are all positive issues which people want to listen to. And there is far less division at this conference than there is within the Tory party or any other political party in this country. Far less division. One or two issues, very small constitutional issues, but nearly all of the debate is about how we move forward in policy terms.
Still, in advance of conference, you wrote an article for the New Statesman in which you called for an end to the infighting. You don't tend to issue a call such as that when everything is sweetness and light.
Oh no, there is infighting. We know that. It's gone on for some time. There's infighting at local level. There's different groups vying for influence. And what I don't want is that local arguments taking place to actually come into our conference. This is where we set out our stall, not just to say that we're the best party, but the party that can win power and can take this country forward. And so, yes, I did make that plea. I think it's been honoured in the motions that we've seen coming forward, and we're going to have a great conference.
So just to be clear, are you, in essence, calling on people to stop rocking the boat? Or are you suggesting that Captain Corbyn might have to put up with a little bit of seasickness from time to time?
No, I think what I'm suggesting is that we're a broad church. I mean, I've been involved in the Labour Party for 40 years, and I've seen different groups come, different groups go, as the Labour Party has always progressed to the position where it's in now. And my call is that we accept we're a broad church, we may have difference, but we argue about those differences as one party. Not venomously, not infighting that can't be resolved, but we actually come together, recognise that we're on the point of taking power, and that's our first priority.
Just want to turn to that and focus on your view of the leader. Now, you've previously described Jeremy Corbyn as a friend. At the same time, you have been critical when you felt it necessary. Autumn last year, Labour Party further away from government than at any point you can remember. You echoed those remarks in the aftermath of the Copeland by-election.
Yes.
Where we are now, is this all your positivity? Is that all, in essence, flowing directly from a general election result in which the Labour Party still couldn't win a majority?
I'm a critical friend, and I think Jeremy needs critical friends. Not everything that Jeremy says is completely right. Not everything that John McDonnell says is completely right. We look at it from a different perspective. We represent over 1 million low-paid women, and they're suffering because of what's happened in our society since the failure of the banks over 10 years ago. And our aim is to get them decent standard of living so they can put food on the table. They've lost an average £3,000 a year. And now we're saying something can be done. And we're just at the point, we didn't win the last election. I mean, this is the issue. We didn't win it, but we can win the next election if we pull together and have a clear agenda like we did in the last election.
Well, let's talk specifically about pay and public sector pay and the pay cap. Now, you've called for a 5% rise, isn't that right?
And £800.
Exactly. The Labour Party currently is proposing nowhere near that.
Well, the Labour Party, if they adopt our motion, which I know they will do, will be calling for it. The motion that we're putting forward commits the Labour Party to the claims that we're submitting, and it's the right thing to do. And I will actually say to you that give it a few weeks and we'll have the Tory party supporting it as well. We're talking not just to Labour as a trade union, we're also seeking to influence Tory MPs, especially in the marginals. You've got to remember, in the marginals they may have 100, 200 majority. We've got thousands of members in those marginals.
Wouldn't it better then have been to have that our proposal of that type in the manifesto, when they putting it directly to the public?
It was in the manifesto, and we wrote it that there would be the pay cap would end for public service workers.
But that doesn't. Yeah, that is a different thing to promising public sector workers a real terms pay rise. On the figures in the manifesto, the pay cap goes, but people are still receiving, in essence, a pay cut when you factor in inflation.
The claim that we're putting forward is to restore some of the loss that's been incurred over the last 10 years.
But not give them a proper pay rise.
And to actually deal with inflation as it's coming now. We believe that it's affordable, the money is there to pay it. You can't come to us and say, well, the country can't afford it, because quite clearly it can. The rich in our society are doing very well. We're talking about a more progressive taxation system. We could even talk about deferring Trident in order that this be paid. But we'll make sure as a public service union that public service workers providing essential services, not just those wearing uniforms, who many of our members do, but all members get a uniform pay increase across all public services. Surely, and that will happen.
Surely what your members are asking for is not just an end to the pay cap, it's not just an end to taking it above the pay cap, it's a proper pay rise.
Yes.
Now, as things stand, if you have inflation around about 3%, on the plans that you and the Labour Party are putting forward, that's not going to be the case for quite some time.
On the pay claim that we've submitted, it will deal with the inflation that's happening now, and it will deal with some of the inflation that's happened in the past. But we want to move forward from there and make sure that we restore the position of public service workers. They've lost so much. I repeat again, 1 million women that we represent have lost over £3,000 a year. 600,000 jobs have gone in that period, and we need to restore our public services. They provide the fabric of our life. They look after the vulnerable, but you need workers who are decently paid to actually do that, to increase morale.
Slight change of direction. As the head of a union, what's your view on the decision by TfL to remove the licence from Uber? 40,000 people, it looks like, could be losing their source of income.
You've got to understand what's happened. Obviously, Uber, a new development, using new technology, it looks great on paper. But what you can't ignore is the safety of the people who are being carried. And I think the real reason why we've come to this impasse has been that there is no safety checks on the drivers that meet proper standards, that problems are being hidden from the regulators, and they're using really bad practices that could put people in danger. Now, if they solve the issues that are being identified, well, then it may well be that the licence will not be taken away. And you've got to remember as well, it hasn't been stopped. They can appeal against it, but they've got to answer some of the massive criticisms that have been made by what is a really good regulator in London.
And just a final thought. Jeremy Corbyn in power and the head of the Labour Party for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
But who comes next?
Well, let's stay with Jeremy. It's like raking over the coals, and how long has Jeremy got left? Jeremy will take us into the next election, and we'll see who wants to come forward at that stage. But we work with the whole of the Labour Party. We're not working with one group. I'll make it clear, we don't work with Progress, we don't work with Momentum. We are affiliated to the Labour Party, and we support our leader, and we always have done.
It does seem likeliest, however, that whoever does take over will come from the left of the party. You concede that, at least?
It could well do, could well be. We'll have to wait and see. If they've got the best manifesto, if they've got the best leadership qualities, why not come from the left? We've gone through many, many years of having right-wing Labour governments. Perhaps it's a turn of the left and see what they can do. But you cannot get away from the fact that Labour is almost on the point of winning the next election. And if there was an election this year, if the Tories fall apart as they are doing, Jeremy Corbyn will win that election.
Dave Prentis, many thanks for being with us.